Hello, my name is Fernanda Garcia, and today I will be presenting racism as a social problem. According to Knox, Mooney, and Scott, throughout history, humans have encountered other humans who are different from them in language, beliefs, norms, and physical appearance. Minority groups is a category of people who have unequal access to positions of power, prestige, and wealth, and are targets of prejudice and discrimination. The minority status is not based on numerical representation in society, rather on social status, meaning that minority groups are underrepresented in our society, and this makes it more difficult for minority groups to actually surpass the majority. What are the targeted minority groups who are affected by this? In the United States, there's actually 4 or more minority groups that are affected. Some of the main ones are Hispanic, Latinos, African American, Native American, and Asian American, and others, of course. The racial minority groups such as Hispanic, Latinos, Native Americans, African American, and Asian Americans are the large groups that are actually affected by this racism, which is a social problem in the United States. According to the National Association of Social Workers, racism affects an individual when society does not give them the equal access to positions of power, wealth, and prestige, and so on. The individual is subjected to criticism, discrimination, and inequality. You can see some of these unequal access, such as to positions of power in our daily workforce. It is very difficult for someone who is in a minority group to actually achieve a position where they can hold power. We constantly see this in our government positions. It is very rare for us to actually see someone from one of these minority groups hold a power like that. We recently saw this when the first African American president was elected. President Barack Obama, he broke that issue when he became our first African American president. Now more than ever, our president now, Donald Trump, has actually brought or increased this issue in our society today. The causes of racism in the United States have not only increased due to his comments about certain nationalities or certain minority groups. According to Knox, Mooney, and Scott, despite significant improvements over the last 2 centuries, race and ethnic group relations continue to be problematic. This could be because, as a historical perspective, for the first 100 years, the United States actually allowed many immigrants to enter the United States. And due to this, it actually created resentment and fear to those who were American born. Nowadays, you hear the comment of, oh, we don't want these immigrants because they're taking our jobs away. But when one points out to call one an immigrant, not knowing that we're actually native born, this can cause conflict. A lot of people nowadays actually make a lot of racist comments. I myself have been a victim of this. My parents as well know, and we are actually U.S. citizens. It is sad that our society has come to this big issue. Maybe because before it wasn't so common, but now after all these years, it's coming to light what our society actually thinks of many minority groups. This occurred, there was many, when this occurred, it caused a lot of tension between the majority and the minority groups. There was questions being asked on whether he was actually a native born of the United States. Issues like this created our president to come out and actually speak out on where he was born. There were a lot of racist comments made towards him, his wife, and his children. Of course, this obviously was portrayed in the media, and our president now, Donald Trump, actually pointed out that our president at the time, Barack Obama, was not born in the United States. He questioned his citizenship, and of course, many people began to be more aggressive or give racist comments that were unnecessary at the time. What would be the consequences if this issue continues? Well, the United States or our nation would be more divided than ever. We're now seeing it with the division of one group of people showing their support to our president and the racial comments he has made towards other minority groups. And then you see on the other side the other group who truly dislikes what he believes in and the orders that he's been putting out there for many people to not continue to immigrate into this country, or by him profiling us or minority groups on what we have brought into this country. For example, when he pointed it out in one of his campaigns that Mexicans were rapists and they were bringing drugs and so on. He was looking at Mexicans as a whole group, when in reality many people actually immigrated into the United States, not just Mexicans. There's Cubans, there's Asians, and so on. And he actually just focused on one group and profiling them. This caused a lot of racism to come out, and now more than ever you see people actually pointing out anyone who actually looks Mexican anyone who seems to look Mexican, they make racial comments against them. And it's very sad that our country is actually going through this, because there continues to be more division in our nation, and in reality what's going to happen is it's going to create a lot of issues. It can increase hate crimes, and people will just continue to raise up in what they believe in, and maybe we will see more protests going on. Who benefits from racism? Well, according to the article, Who Benefits from Racism, the Distribution Amongst Whites of Gains and Losses from Racial Inequality, written by Michael Rake. Rake argues that black and white income differences weaken workers' overall solidarity, and it strengthens, therefore it benefits capitalists. Who has the ability, the power, and the money to influence public debates about racism? Well, today I believe that celebrities are actually voicing out their opinions regarding racism and other issues that are going on in our country today. They use their power and influence through awards such as the SAG Awards, the Oscars, to voice out their opinions, and they speak about things that they do not agree, that have been mentioned by our president. Also about many of his supporters. I want to use the Iranian director Asghar Farhadi, who won an Oscars for his short film in The Salesman. For his short film titled The Salesman. He actually lives in Iran, and that is one of the 7 countries that was included in the Muslim ban. At the time, he wasn't sure on whether he would be allowed entrance into the United States, since he is a native from Iran, and unfortunately, because our president Donald Trump signed the executive order of the Muslim ban, it made it really hard for many people who had visas and were coming legally to the United States. It made it really difficult for them to enter, and it seemed that it was more of a racial issue. We saw protesters, we saw vandalism due to this issue. Not many people were actually happy with this ban. It feels like it was a violation of their rights. Another celebrity who has been voicing out her opinion through the media is Meryl Streep. She has been talking about the racist comments and other issues that have been said in our society, and she's been receiving a lot of hatred for it. Many people who disagree with her have sent her or criticized her for her opinion on these political issues, and of course on the racist issue that we have today in our society. Our legislators, such as Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, and council members, should use their power to make changes or repeal the laws in our country or state. Legislators should hold or create laws that can hold people responsible for their racist acts. I wanted to use an example. There was a couple or a group known as the Respect the Flag from Georgia. There was an incident in the year 2015 where they shouted out racial slurs and threatened black adults and children at a child's birthday party. Recently, on February 27th, which was Monday, the couple was sentenced to 20 years, and the other was sentenced to 15 years for being involved in this incident. The couple was found guilty for making terrorist threats, and they violated the Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. This act, according to the Georgia State University Law Review, the act begins by declaring the right of every person to be secure and protected from fear, intimidation, and physical harm. If more laws like these were created to protect our citizens, it would probably serve as a warning for many who actually have the intention of harming another by maybe physically, or by using intimidating words or acts. The references that were used for today's social issue presentation was racism.org for the U.S. Racial Minority Groups, also the National Association of Social Workers for the effects on the individuals on racism. Third reference was the Social Problem textbook used in our class by Mooney, Knox, and Scott. The fourth reference used was the empirical research article by Michael Reich, who argued that racism benefits capitalists. And last reference was the Georgia State University Law Review that went over the Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act.